You're watching GCTV, Community Access Cable Channel 15 in Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Hello, this is November 19th, a special meeting of the Greenfield City Council. We are at the Greenfield High School at 21 Barr Avenue, and this meeting is being recorded, videotaped, and broadcast. If any other persons present are doing the same, please let me know at this time in the recorder. Nobody else. Okay, so the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Sons? Here. Counselor Burson? Here. Counselor Alice is absent. Counselor Python is absent. Counselor Dolan is absent. Counselor Gilmore? Here. Counselor Wheeler?
Here.
Counselor Mayo?
Here.
Counselor Hirschfeld?
Here.
Counselor Mass is absent. President Renaud?
Here.
Vice President Ricketts?
Present.
And Counselor Stempel is absent. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Terrific. If you could all, this is voluntary, but if you wanted to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to do that now.
Pledge allegiance.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules of procedure?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Rules of procedure have been suspended. So now we will have communication from the school committee.
Hello, how are you tonight? So just a couple of quick things. We have ratified Unit C, and we really believe that this was a great decision for our district, our employees, our students, and we had a majority support. All the materials have been delivered to the mayor's office. We expect that you'll have them for your December meeting. We did vote in our capital improvement last night. We did that also with a majority vote, and it was focus of priority on student safety, just when you get looking at that. We're really excited for all the new members coming forward and really working to wrap up a lot of policy work that we've been doing so we have nice, smooth transitions. And we didn't discuss the Green River School project at all. I know you have our original plan. We are planning to send it to you again. That plan is still the plan. It's been the plan. There's been no change on our end on what we would like to happen there. I think that's it. It's a pretty hard work meeting, but not a lot of separate new topics.
Could you, Katie, could you just state your name and position
Oh
for
yeah,
anybody?
I'm Katie Karen. I am the vice chair of school committee.
Okay, thank you. And
Yep.
could you go over the plans for the Green River School?
Sure. So I will absolutely get them sent to you. I'll give a quick overview. The original intent was to put an alternative high school in there to capture students who a traditional high school wasn't working for. That could be students who need to repeat a grade, students who have a situation where they need to work more hours than a standard student. It could be a lot of different situations. We had that all proposed. I believe you've already seen it. It was like a year and a half ago now. We approved it as a committee. We believe that was the best choice. And then we just have to wait for the next part.
Okay. And what would happen if we don't approve the money, or we keep tabling it?
So if you don't put a heating system in, we can't put a program in, and then we are in non-compliance with MSBA.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions? Vice President Ricketts.
Yes. So is there a clock on that right now for the heating system?
There, I hesitate to give it an exact time frame because I didn't read up right before I came. But there is a clock. We are supposed to have students within a certain period of time. If we can show that we are continually moving forward to make improvements on the building, then yes, that works. But if it just stalls out and we're just not approving it, then we're gonna get in trouble. And the way I understand it is they can come back at us for a lot of money.
Follow-up, please. Well, I'm thinking that couldn't this winter really hurt us? What if it was so bad this winter and pipes burst and things? It's
I-
going to end up costing us so much money, so I don't know what we're actually doing right now that's making sense.
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to comment on repairs to a building. I don't know a lot, but I know if I wasn't heating my house, I would have burst pipes. I don't know how much of that heating system works enough to keep us moving forward through the winter. I can't really guess on that either. I just know that we need a new one.
Counselor Hirschfeld?
Yes, do you have a number on the number of students that this program would entail?
I believe the original estimate was a hope for a start program, a brand-new program of 12 to 15, but it would be a program that continues to grow. I know originally back when she proposed it to us, the principal had worked really hard to find students they believed were into that program, and it was like a dozen to 2 dozen students that she believed it would work well for immediately.
Thank you.
Counselor Burson and then Counselor Mayo.
Unit C is the Arrows contract?
Correct, it's the IAs, the instructional assistants, yes.
Are wages being paid under $15 an hour in that contract?
I unfortunately was not allowed to actually discuss that contract because my mother is a member of Unit C, so I don't have a lot of exact details for you. I'm certain that if you ask them, and public knowledge is that they are getting paid less than $15 an hour, correct?
That's your understanding?
That is my understanding, yes.
Under $15 an hour?
Correct, that is my understanding,
And
yes.
these are the folks who take care of some of the most challenged students in this community, correct?
Correct, yes.
And because they take care of the challenged students in the community, these children don't go outside of the district, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Mayo?
Thank you. My question is, has the school committee thought of an alternative? Because we're talking between 12, as your numbers are, between 12 and 15 students in the first go around. If you're not able to, if we don't vote the money and the building stays as is there an alternative building that you're thinking of?
To change, to
To have
put that
the-
program in?
Yes.
No, unfortunately, that hasn't been an option. Again, I don't want to make statements that I'm not 100% sure about, but I believe they're working with those students they identified to the best of their ability within this building. But for a lot of those students, having a separate building would be a better option, just because of, if you're repeating a grade, there is some stigma to it, be attached to it, and it's better to do it on your own terms in a little bit of way. But they are serving those students to the best of their ability in this building as it stands, but there's been, as far as I know, no option on where to put them other than
Okay.
Green River.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from counselors? Well, thank you so much, Vice Chair Katie. And just to be clear for everybody, I think everybody knows, but tonight's a special meeting that we're not voting on anything tonight. We're going to vote on everything tomorrow night, and it just seemed easier to split the meetings up so that we could take public comment in and take all the information in, and then have a night and then vote tomorrow night. So, thank you. Communications from mayor, city officers, and employees.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, it's been 1 year since I started here. And for you, those of you who are leaving us soon off the council, I want to wish you best of luck in your future endeavors, and thank you for your service. Also, for those of us continuing on, we have challenges, but we will work together and get through them. I believe that you all received from PARAC a letter discussing the retirement assessment, if you recall in the schedule. And the reason I'm bringing this up, at a previous meeting, I believe it was July, council was quite surprised at the amount of the city's pension liability and OPEB liability. They were 54 million in pension and 84 million in OPEB.
It did get my attention.
I remember you distinctly from that meeting. So the schedule you received is not set in stone, and it increases with significant wage increases from any union or even employee in the Greenfield retirement system. This isn't teachers or other teacher retirement personnel, because they're in a different retirement system, MTRS. So the only thing I want to bring to your attention is it's obviously a huge liability. But when you are looking at wages, when you work for the public sector, you do have to factor in pension and OPEB, because most private sectors do not offer that to you. And I myself, as an example, I took a large pay cut to get more years in the retirement system, and there's other city employees who did the same thing. I am hoping to bring forward a request in the future for a pension reserve fund, because the end years of that pension schedule are going to be very difficult to pay. So what I'm thinking is, if we can at least set aside something to assist in those years each year and draw from, it would be most beneficial for the city. And so I just felt that I wanted to, give you a heads up on that. And I do think we need to talk more about these long-term liabilities. We'll have new counselors, so that'll be a good time, and a new mayor. But we do need to address these, because, like I said, each significant wage increase not only increases pension, it will increase our workers' comp, because, as you know, that's based upon salaries, plus the experience rating given to a particular position. Secondly, at the last council meeting, I had offered, we were going to have the auditor, Bloom Shapiro, come back. The agenda was just too jam-packed. So we can either try for December or a separate meeting time. I will leave that up to the chair to see how December's meetings are stacking out, to see in terms of time. Because I know it is hard to get everything in. We're going to have a tax classification hearing tonight, and we need to be setting the tax rate and on from there. So I don't know if anyone has any questions?
Councilor Burson?
Is there,
No, microphone, Councilor.
thank you. Is there any thinking about consolidating any of these pensions in the county by coming up with a pension fund that is not just restricted to the city of Greenfield?
So that would take a change in Mass General Law.
Well, we
But
can
they
do
are
that
looking
with a
at that.
pen, see, you just write it down, right? That's how it happens. But is
No.
there any movement to do it?
There's discussion, for sure. Certainly on the administration of numerous pension systems, instead of having one administration for regional areas, perhaps. There is talk of that. But,
You think the talk could be a little louder?
well, it wasn't popular when I went to the PERAC retirement conference, but I did speak with a gentleman that perhaps we can bring back that I found. He was from Boston College and studied pensions nationwide. It was really great conversation I had with him. And if enough interest, I actually think that more other mayors, other town administrators, other councils or selectmen would also be interested in hearing him speak.
There's no pension guaranteed board under the system, is there?
It's state law. I asked this question. It actually is a contract by law that they do have to pay this.
I understand it, but there's
Oh.
no guaranteed fund behind it.
Oh, the PBI?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, I don't know as there isn't enough in the PGIC to fund any of the number of pensions that could go downhill. But the guarantee is that the state has made a contract with the employee that they will pay that. So whether it's through assessments, whether it's through concessions, those are the only two things that could happen to change the amount.
Do a little reading about Detroit.
Yeah, no, and that's, but again, we have to realize everything is related, so we can't be increasing our pension liability and yet not addressing it. You can't have one without the other. So we need to figure out how we are going to address it and make sure that we are funded. Because it is a promise you make to employees when you hire them, that this is going to be here for you. And how many employees in private industry, automakers, whomever, have found out that their pension's gone? So, the only thing I can say is that the state guarantees this, but the state would have to also come up with the money. And, we're far better ahead to manage ourselves well financially and make sure we can meet the obligations. I don't know if
Director Gilman, could you first introduce yourself just for the viewers, for both of you at the table? I keep forgetting to ask people to announce.
I know,
I
apologize.
know you.
I know.
It's okay.
Liz Gilman, Director of Municipal Finance for the city. And this is,
I'm Paul Raskovitz, the Deputy Director of Public Works.
Thank you. And I do think the idea of a separate account is a good idea. I like the idea of a multiple employer pension, but I know that you're not just going to pull that out of the sky. But I think the fixes that are presented are, good, but it doesn't happen overnight. But yeah, and I agree with you. People make lower wages here for the promise of a pension, which everybody should have, everybody who works everywhere, and unfortunately they don't. But it is one of the things that we can attract people to work for the town of Greenfield, city of Greenfield, because of the pension and the other post-employment benefits. So any other comments or questions for the director? Councilor Burson?
Next time you go back to your friends in the room, take this message. If they don't have a graduated income tax in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and you live at a 5% level, that means everybody gets taxed at 5%, whether you make $25,000 a year, or you make $200 million a year. You get taxed at, if there's no graduated tax, the pension system, in my humble imagination, will fail miserably. And if they want an example, check out Detroit.
Yes, I can, if anyone's interested, I have information on where Massachusetts ranks, and it's not great amongst the states. So, but, we as Greenfield can address our own liabilities and take care of it through financial planning, and that's what I hope to do. But, you can't have, our 2.5 in new growth, it's barely $1 million, okay? And you can't have just the pension assessment eat half of that up, 2/3 of it up. So, the alternative, we always hear new revenue sources, but, there's not hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in. So, it really, it needs to be, we need to take the bull by the horns, is what I'm saying, and take care of Greenfield, because you can't kick it down the road.
Any other questions about the pension or OPEB? I think that's it on that topic.
There are major things we do need to discuss, and we have so much in our meetings, and so when I have an opportunity, I want to start bringing these things forward, and especially with new counselors, we also can get into more in-depth discussions as well. I'm going to turn this over to Paul.
You can keep it.
No, you.
So, I've never been up here, so bear with me. And the last time I was I had Marlo, and he walked me through it. So, I guess I'm here because I'd like to discuss the repurposing the $300,000 for that was originally in the Maplebrook Fund that we'd like to use for the remainder of the I&I study. We've started already. The main reason we wanted to switch that money from when we had talked months ago, and we were going to use that for repairs, from what we found from the first study, but now we'd like to use that money to fund the second portion of the study that's currently going on because of the recent DEP consent order we received. We have to give them a response by end of day November 30th. So that's why we, if we can have an answer, we can know what we can put in here and not in here. And one of the things they specifically asked for in this consent order was in the next 120 days to start that second process. So that's why we've kind of shifted gears. So any questions? Not?
Councilor Wheeler?
Thanks for the update, Paul. Would it be correct to say that despite the fire station being on our radar now that the library's been approved, that getting this study funded for the DEP consent order is priority number one? Things like culverts on Riddell Street are second, a little, come next, and this is really the priority?
For me, reading this consent order, it makes it the priority for me. But those are decisions. I can just give you the facts, what I have. So.
Vice President Ricketts?
So what would happen to us on November 30th?
Well, they've given us the one extension, and now we have this one, which we have to respond back by November 30th with whatever changes we hope to see in it, which, may be we can stretch out a few things, but there's a fine fee, or there's a fine schedule on the back of it that's going to start.
So it's fining by the day or by the week or by
But
the
I
month?
believe it's by the day. There's a different schedule. I don't know if you guys all got this packet, but you can see there's a fee schedule in the back of it by the day.
So I think that just really cements what Counselor Wheeler was talking to about priorities. Like, just that fee schedule alone has to make this a priority.
Yeah, period of violation, first through the 15 first days is $100 a day, 16th through the 30th is $250, 31st day and thereafter is $500 per day.
Thank you.
Councilor Sun?
First of all, I'd like to thank both of you for the great job you've been doing. DPW has been doing an outstanding job. As far as culvert and everything goes, it seems like shouldn't have been taken care of all at once instead of going in a little bit at a time.
I'm not sure what you're asking, Counselor. I'm
In
sorry.
other words, you asked so much money for each extension.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were hoping to get the worst section done first and then commence with the repairs. We were going to come back and ask for more money to start the repairs once we had a better handle on what they were going to be. And it was kind of a surprise to us when this came and they want the section, or second section done. We were planning on going one way, and we're still going down the same path, just they want us to veer a little bit to the side now.
It just seems like the worst should get done first in my eyes.
And that's what we've started. We've started already. We found some repairs. I don't know if anybody's been over Mill Street recently, but we found a very large, a whole section of pipe was missing. So that's what they were out there digging today. We found a few other cross connections and things that we're going to put on our work schedule that we can do in-house in the spring. We were able to do that, like I said, that repair on Mill Street in-house, and that had to get done. We found it 2 business days ago and had to fix it today, so it was a bad one.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Deputy Director Raskovitz? No? Okay.
Thank you all for bearing with me. My voice will get smoother, all right?
You did great. Well, actually, I guess I'll ask Director Gilman unless the mayor is coming forward. I just wondered if you knew about the Green River School. How do you think it's going to hold up for the winter? Is this a concern that we have as a city?
Well, that's been my concern all along of whether, regardless of who's using the building, I think we want to maintain it. However, I believe it's being heated to some extent right now. So I had spoken with our Director of Central Maintenance, George Vandelender, and he seemed to think it would be okay. I don't think it's desirable, but, we can't immediately get the system in right away anyway, but we should get it authorized once you're comfortable with the plan going forward. But we do need to maintain the building. It's our building.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, next up.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Kim Yu, the Assistant Assessor, and I have our tax classification hearing. Before I start, I just want to make sure that everyone had just received the email that went out with the updated classification packet, and if not, I do have one for you. Do you all want these? Okay. So while those are being passed along, you will see that there is a highlighted section, which is what is updated as of today. So I am here to let you all know that the DOR has certified our growth and our assessments, so we're able to have this hearing tonight. I did get approval of all of that first thing this morning. So the purpose of this meeting is basically to establish whether or not we're going to have a split tax rate or a single rate. In the past, as you all know, we've stuck with a single rate, and it seems as though we've done this to maintain a healthy business climate for our commercial and industrial properties. As you will see in the packet, it shows that about 26% of our values are commercial and industrial. So it's less than half. So what I am proposing would be to appropriate, if we're to do a split tax rate, I would like to give the appropriate timing for the businesses to be able to come to us, discuss, debate how this might affect them. And that's why I'm proposing that we do a single tax rate this year. If we do the single tax rate, we are looking to collect $34,852,691 in tax, which would put us at a tax rate of $22.93 per thousand. As you will see also in the packet on page 2, which is where you'll see the highlighted information, you do see that that is different than what you had received prior. The reason that that's different is because of this approval that we have received from the state approving our values. And also we have updated the excess levy to the excess levy, sorry about that, excess levy capacity to include the debt exclusion. So that's basically what I have for you today.
Could you just go over those numbers one more time?
The 34 million?
Yeah, I was writing while you were saying it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the 34,852,691 would be what we're looking to collect this year in tax.
Okay.
And at that, with a single rate, would put our rate at $22.93 per thousand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just can't remember off the top of my head. Is that higher than last year?
It is. Last year was 22.36.
22.36. And 7 cents?
57 cents. Yes.
Okay.
Which happens to approximately be about 2.5%.
Questions? Vice
So-
President Ricketts?
So you were saying that you'd like us to do the single rate so it gives businesses time to be thinking about this and to be really looking at the figures. So are you talking about we do this for like one more year and then next year we really start thinking about a split tax rate?
I think that's up to you all, but I think if we are to actually discuss a split tax rate, I think we should give the businesses the opportunity to actually have a little bit more time to come and talk to us about how this could potentially affect us. That's why I'm suggesting that we go with the single rate, which we've done in the past, but definitely to give them the opportunity and be fair.
Okay. And have you heard from businesses or residents up to now?
Very slightly.
Okay, I know. Same here, and we usually really do about this time, so, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Burson?
The industrial and commercial classes, the count in the number that you have, does that include all the TIFs?
Yes.
All the buildings that are TIFs included in that?
Yes.
How many buildings are in TIFs, if you know?
don't know the number off the top of my head. I hate to give you something that's inaccurate, but I can certainly get that information and email it to you if that's okay.
I don't have it with me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we're all set with this information. Thank you. And,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, you'll get emails if anybody has any questions before tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Councilors. Bob Strand, Greenfield Fire Chief. Bill 41 Martin. That would be days. We want to speak to a couple of things you're probably going to take off the table. We're hoping so we can have further discussion. But before we preface those exact specific items, you also have a rescission order brought before the council of $6.6 million. I want to explain how that rescission issue is. I know Councilor Hirschfeld has heard this before and Councilor Ricketts, but the rescission amount is previously allocated and approved spending and borrowing money by the council. So we're bringing back $6.6 million of previously approved authority to spend for various and a myriad of projects. With that, we're also bringing back the amount that was dedicated to and approved for the Green River School of about, I think, somewhere in the vicinity of $480,000 that we're not going to use. And in return, by bringing that to you, we were hoping that the other amount requested for the heating system would be approved by the council. So it's kind of a swap of money, of borrowing authority. So to answer Councilor Ricketts' previous question about winterizing the property has been winterized, and last winter we had no project going on there. So it's been the tabling and the holding of that project for Green River School that by the council that has prevented us from going out for a request for proposal. The previous one we will probably have to renew or re-advertise for this project because it's been over a year. So with that, again, to remind you that $6.6 million brought back of previously authorized authority, we were also asking to take the fire station design construction off the table so that we can begin that project on Riddell Street. I don't know how it's been a secret, but several people have asked me, where is the fire station and the public safety complex going? It is going to Beacon Street and Riddell Street. If we recall, the council asked us to search for a nice piece of land that would meet the needs and the criteria of the public safety people, police and fire, but do it with city-owned land. And so we were fortunate to have control of this property and own it as of 4 or 5 years ago. So we're here to support taking it off the table and voting it a positive vote for those two, Green River School and the fire station study. And Chief Strand has some updated information. Yeah, sure. So the money that's been requested is the third phase in the study that we've been working on since 2012 for the new firehouse. The original stage was the funding was for program material that they looked at how we operate as a fire department and then developed what the square footage needs were going to be from that point. At that time, they looked at, I think it was 7 or 8 different sites. The majority of those sites are unavailable now because of new development or just changes with the property. The second phase was, I think earlier this year, we, after the direction of the city council asking us to look at town-owned land, we really dove into about 4 pieces of property of town-owned land and really found only one that was adequate and suitable for construction with a limited amount of impact to the neighborhood and where would the best fit be. And that was identified as Beacon Street. And so that's the project, that's the land that we've been working on since then. It is in the central part of the city, which puts us in the central part of our dispatch area in regards to response area.
And it makes a lot of sense to go in that area. If you go back to multiple studies that were done, ones that were done back in the mid-90s, still identify that the area that we should concentrate on putting a single firehouse is somewhere around the Beacon Street, Federal Street area. So I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Councilor Gilmore?
A question for the mayor. I know that we're focusing on the fire station, and I'm happy that this is coming back. But I received a question about the skate park because it's supposed to be co-located. When we're doing this study, are we supposed to be looking at those separately, or does it make sense to look at them together? I know that the current proposal doesn't include that at all. So I just wanted to know if you could elaborate a little. And I don't know if that's a matter of just process or if it's just because that's a few years down the road.
I would say that the focus is on the footprint for the public safety complex. It'll be a total amount of footprint space for fire safety, police enforcement, and dispatch. The first phase, one, will be only the fire station, so that all the balance of the land will be reserved for expansion or completing the public safety complex at a later date. We, as a city, own about 1.7 acres abutting that to the west, and that land is presently used for a retainage basin as well as some mowed area. So if there's going to be an add-on to the public safety complex at some time in the future, it would have to stand independently. The skate park has various estimates of $800 to $1.2 million, depending on the type and the excavation and preparation of the land. So that would be a separate funding source and would be not contiguous or not attached to the public safety complex, but in the area, if that was the chosen site.
Does that mean that when the police department is ready to move, that would have to start that process over again also?
For the police department?
Right, are they included in this? Or you said the footprint for the fire station, so you're talking about several years in the future when the police department is ready to move, we would have to start this process again for that expansion also?
No, I didn't.
Or is that
If I said
included
that, I didn't mean that. So that the public safety.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand,
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
public safety complex will be completed. All the necessary surveys and information from police and dispatch are already included with the information from the fire department. So that space, the footprint, and the space to be added is already done, ready for a future expansion of the fire station, the future fire station.
Councilor Sun, and then Vice President Ricketts.
In your eyes, what's the best size of the fire station? Which would be served Greenfield as far as size?
So we've had many studies that have identified that. We have seen size between 18,000 square feet and 27,000. The 27,000 has been already reduced by 3,000 or 4,000 square feet on top of that. The reality is that once we approve this plan and have the program manager get involved with the building committee, that they will define more of the square footage at that point. My guess is going to be somewhere between the 18 and 20,000 square foot, but don't hold me to that right yet.
Vice President Ricketts, and then Councilor Mayo.
So, Chief, it's wet around there, correct? And so is there some kind of water issue that we need to deal with too while we're dealing with this design at the same time?
So it's our hope that this project will help address some of that drainage issue. I know that there are multiple avenues that could be looked at. So, for example, my understanding is when they built the John Zahn Center, they actually built tanks underneath the driveway to handle some of the runoff. I think everything's going to be explored, but really need to get into the next phase of the real in-depth study to try to identify that.
Thank you.
Councilor Mayo.
Thank you. This is a question for the mayor. We're talking about, when you're talking about the rescinded borrowing, or the $6.6 million coming back to the city, you identified 2 places that it was going. Any chance that any of this can go to fund contracts that are unfunded?
So the 6.6 million return is a allocation and authorization to spend. So it wasn't spent. So the allocation and authorization is then rescinded to the council. So the council can borrow money anytime it wants, working with the executive to do anything it wants. So oftentimes best practice is to spend the money efficiently and return what isn't used. We often try to be exact as possible with our estimates of a project, but we try never to be too low where we overspend. So in this case, many of the projects are completed. Some are not necessary and are brought back to the council. The finance director would have more precise information.
Okay.
No, I just simply wanted to add that there are only certain things by law that you may borrow for, and it's stated, and you cannot borrow for wages. So.
Okay, thank you.
So
Vice President Ricketts?
Yeah, so I guess I have a follow-up to Councilor Mayo's question or his intent. So the 6.6 million revision, where will it go when it comes back? Does it go in, I can't, I'll look at you. That's okay, sorry.
It's really not coming back in terms of like, I'm writing you a check and here it comes back. It's just an authorization to borrow.
Right.
So it's not like there's money sitting in.
Stabilization or anywhere.
Correct.
It just was not used at all, and.
Right.
But it's sitting someplace.
No, it was never borrowed. It's just an authorization
Oh, got,
to
all right.
borrow.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, please.
Thanks, Chief.
Oh, no, that's okay. We'll just say if anybody's ready to come. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Before we get to public comment, Councilor Wheeler, could you, I'd like to open up the public hearing in the second reading at the same time.
In accordance with Home Rule Charter, the Greenfield City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 19, 2019 at 6 p.m. at Greenfield High School Cafeteria to receive public input on the following. Approve payment of prior year FY19 invoice for Partex Solutions in the amount of $2,167.64 to be paid from the FY20 Parking Department budget. The City Council may consider the same on Wednesday, November 20th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at John Zahn Community Center, 35 Pleasant Street. Materials can be obtained from the City Clerk's Office, 14 Court Square, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or by phone 413-772-1555, extension 6163. Karen Reno, Greenfield City Council President.
In the second reading?
City Council, second reading, November 19, 2019. Approve payment of prior year FY19 invoice for Partex Solutions in the amount of $2,167.64 to be paid from the FY20 Parking Department budget.
Thank you, Councilor Wheeler. So I'm opening up the public hearing on the $2,000 or so at 6:50. And also it's time for public comment. If folks could remember to please state your name and your address, everybody will be allotted the whole 3 minutes. That was the point of having two meetings. So Some folks signed up. I think some folks probably didn't sign up, and that's okay. We'll just let you speak in turn once the signed up folks we get through that list. Joan Milnes. Nope. Oh, you just got to push the button.
Where it
There you
says
go.
push?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joan Milnes. I live at the Silvercrest condominiums, and my address is 42 Silvercrest Lane. About 6 weeks ago, I started working with another Silvercrest resident, a gentleman named David Chichester, to look into bringing GSET into our street. We had several meetings and email exchanges with Alan Twayrog, the engineering superintendent for the Greenfield DPW, and with John Lunt, the general manager for GSET. Before I continue, I want to say that Dave and I have been impressed with both Mr. Twayrog and Mr. Lunt. They're clearly knowledgeable in their areas of expertise, and they have been prompt in responding to our inquiries. The city is fortunate to have these two professionals working for us as well as working with us. Now to the issue of bringing GSET to Silvercrest. When the Silvercrest condominiums were built, 3 underground conduits were laid for utilities to run their wires into the complex to provide services. Currently, all 3 conduits are being used, one by Verizon, one by Comcast, one by Eversource. All 3 conduits pass through Eversource manholes. The conduit used by Eversource provides electricity to the 3 streetlights on Silvercrest Lane. The city of Greenfield owns the rights to this power conduit. This is the conduit that GSET could use to run their cable into Silvercrest to provide TV and internet services. However, Eversource wants to deny access to GSET because the conduit passes through their manholes. This situation raises a lot of questions, and here are some of them. If the city owns the rights to the conduit that Eversource is using, shouldn't the city and not Eversource be making the decisions? Could the city charge Eversource a user fee? The conduits used by Verizon and Comcast also pass through Eversource manholes. Why doesn't Eversource deny them use of those conduits? Of course, Verizon and Comcast do not want to share the conduits that they're using because GSET is competition for them. As a resident of Silvercrest and a taxpayer to the city of Greenfield, I am here tonight to appeal to you for help in bringing GSET to Silvercrest. I believe that residents of Silvercrest should have the same choices of utilities as other residents of Greenfield who are not dealing with pushback from Verizon, Comcast, and Eversource. And because GSET provides the same internet and TV services as the big utilities, but at a considerably less cost, I also ask that you fully fund the expansion of GSET. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Marianne Snow.
Hello, everybody. My name is
Hello.
Marianne Snow. I live at 182 Briar Way in the Briar Way, Briar Knoll condominiums. So this lovely person who just spoke, you're going to hear sort of a ditto, but a slightly different perspective. Because I'm here tonight because I want to find out when we could reasonably expect to get access to GSET. We are a community off of Deerfield Street, and we have 36 townhouse condominiums. The good news is we have underground electronics, electricity and power. And the bad news is we do, because the same problem that she was just describing, we also had. We had been reached out to GSET last November, many of us signed up, wanted to meet with them. And again, many of us met with John Lunt this past February, liked him enormously, he knows his product. We were very enthused and very excited, because at that point he outlined the problems and stuff and said, But I think that you can expect to get access to GSET this coming June. That would have been June 2019. June has come and gone, and we still don't have access. And what's also happened, and even though we want very much to get this product, we want to be the people that also sign up on the GSET website and give testimonials. We are a fixed income community, largely, and the alternatives, we don't really have that many. You can go out to Comcast or whatever, and the cost and the break is so significant if you can get GSET that we would love to have it. It's over on Hope Street, just across the tracks, but we don't have it. And we have not really heard at times. They were very responsive initially, GSET, and then when June came and went, and we would follow up to say, where are you, and stuff like that, I think it can be very hard to tell consumers, we know we told you a certain date, but now we simply can't tell you. However, we're disappointed that we don't have it, and we'd like to have it. We are aware that there's capital fund limitations. However, we also know in the October Recorder, there was an article about State Department monies, let's see, development grant monies to the city of Greenfield, with certain monies allocated also to GSET for quote-unquote GSET fiber and access point installation. So I know I'm hoping that some of that money could mean and open up access to the Briar Knoll community, condo community, that's right off of Deerfield Street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Arlene Bench. I'm also at Briar Knoll Condominiums. And my mother also lives there. She is 92 years old, a fixed income, as I will be shortly, looking for retirement. But I feel also that this is something that would be a taxpayer interest. We are interested in having it, and we feel it's fair to at least let's give us a try. And that's it.
And to be kept posted.
Yeah, to keep follow-ups, and see where we can go with it. That's it.
Thank you. Susan Bose. Susan Voss, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Susan Voss. I live at 158. It's green? Okay. I'm not used to this yet. My name is Susan Voss. I live at 158 Log Plain Road in Greenfield. I am an IA at the Academy of Early Learning, and I am the GEA Unit C representative. I'd like to start answering your question about $15 being a low amount of pay per hour. Starting pay for IAs with the old contract, we've just ratified the new, was $11.75. With the increase, it will be $14.75. Other steps make more money, but that is where we start. I was part of the negotiation team, and we worked very hard to get a fair contract that would be agreed upon by both sides. We didn't ask for a lot. We did not have a huge laundry list of things. And we didn't get everything we asked for. But it was a true negotiation, and the resulting ratified contract was a great example of teamwork and compromise on both sides. We're grateful for the respectful negotiations and have felt heard, appreciated, and above all, respected for doing a sometimes very difficult job. We love our kids, and it shows. The school committee ratified our contract last week. We were very excited. Now we ask you, the city council, to fund the contract. We work with children who are among the most vulnerable in our schools. Please fund our contract and show the community that you do in fact understand that we deserve to be paid a reasonable hourly rate for supporting these kids. We do this because this is what we want to do. We feel a calling to help these kids. We could make more money washing dishes at Mesa or working at McDonald's, but this is what we want to do. This is what we're good at. This is our passion. So I am asking you to do this for the students and for the families in Greenfield. And we thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Ginny DeSorza?
Hi there. Ginny DeSorga, 43 Silvercrest Lane. Just listening to that, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I would urge you to find a way to fund the contract for the paraprofessionals in our school system. Secondly, I had several things that were on the agenda that I just felt one way about. I hope that you'll take from the table the $550,000 now that the library has passed so that we can develop the plans for the new fire station. Also, another board that I serve on voluntarily, I understand the significance of taking care of that DEP order. That's very serious. That $300,000 that was assigned to the Maplebrook, to the repair of the Maplebrook culvert, needs to be put into that to keep our water safe. Second to the end, I'd like to echo what some of the members of the community said tonight as far as GSET, which is an incredible service. I too live at Silvercrest. But I hope that you will continue to extend the funding for GSET so that the technology that's needed for these underground conduits is made available, or that you lean on Eversource, because I thought that was very interesting about the manholes, et cetera, which I did not realize. So that, because you'd actually be able to get a densely populated area, and all of that revenue would be coming into GSEP. Lastly, I wanted to talk about something about haste. We were talking tonight, the tax rate, that was spoken very eloquently, that we didn't want to hastily decide about going between a single payer tax rate and a split tax rate, and how things are paid for. One of the councils asked if we could take money from something to put it towards something else, to put it towards payroll, and that can't be done by law. This brings me to the Community Preservation Act. I realize Lowell just adopted this. They did it over a 6-month study period. The City Council requested their administration to prepare an estimate of the potential capital projects that might be eligible for funding. Do we know what would be eligible for funding from that Community Preservation Act? Would we be able to put it towards the fire station? Would we be able to be putting that towards funding a contract? Do we know that yet? That's what Lowell did. The City Council did that over a 6-month period. So I'm concerned about the haste of that, the haste that we are pushing that through. So that's all. Thank you.
Linda Gilchrist.
And Betty Getty. We both live at Briar Knoll, the condos off Deerfield Street, and we were very excited to read in the recorder that state money is coming to develop infrastructure, and I'm just hoping that that will make GSAT available for us.
I'm sorry that I didn't sign up because I didn't expect to come up and talk. But my husband and I were in a head-on car crash. This January will be 3 years. My husband's 76, I'll be 70 in June. we're both on Social Security. So our income is low. Our condo dues is going to go up $30 a month more. And now we had brand new roofs put on. So money is even tighter. So we really would really appreciate any help you can do to get GSAT up there, because we really need to save money, because I'm an oldie, so I've got a landline phone, and my husband, he does the internet, and we both watch TV. So I don't want to pay $200 a month for Comcast. That's what it's costing us. So if you can help in any way, thank you.
I think we'd all really rather be giving our money to a local company. So there's that.
Thank you. Garth Brody.
Hi, good evening. Garth Brody. I live at 60 Avenue A in Turners Falls, but I know a lot of Greenfield voters, and I work here. So I'm an instructional assistant here at Greenfield High School. This is a fund the contract comment. As you heard from committee member Karen, the old GEA Unit C contract, which covers instructional assistants working in our elementary, middle, and high schools, is set to be replaced. That's a good thing. But I just want to emphasize how the old contract essentially punished IAs for staying in the district by offering them near poverty wages, thus driving them away to other jobs in other districts. The pain from this, as you have no doubt heard by now, is already being felt by students, parents, and staff. And if the City Council doesn't fund the new contract, which was ratified by the school committee last week, the problems of severe understaffing and high turnover will intensify, resulting in irreparable harm to the Greenfield Public School District. The current base pay for IAs in Greenfield Public Schools is $11.75 per hour, which is under minimum wage in Massachusetts, which on its face is fairly insulting, coupled with the level of mental, emotional, and oftentimes physical stress faced by myself and my colleagues in Unit C. It's no wonder that so many IAs are leaving. And with those vacancies remaining largely unfilled, our neediest and our most vulnerable students are being underserved in ways that jeopardize their safety in the short term and their educational outcomes in the long term. Furthermore, by allowing our schools to remain understaffed, we put ourselves at risk of being in violation of students' civil rights. Services mandated by their individualized education plans, their IEPs, services like one-to-one staff support, small group instruction, and sensory accommodations are not being met on a consistent basis. If Greenfield Public Schools is found by the state to be in violation of a student's IEP, the district would incur the full cost of sending that student to another school or agency where their needs could be met, not to mention potential legal settlement implications. We need to look at the big picture. More students with high needs will continue to come up through our schools, necessitating more IAs to meet those needs. Therefore, if we want to have any hope of remaining viable as a public school district, we should incentivize instructional assistants to come to work here and stay working here, rather than driving them away with unlivably low wages. Please fund the contract.
Thank you. Paula Regaro Murray.
Hi. My name is Paula Regano Murray, and I live at 45 Finn Street in Northampton. I'm a para-educator at Northampton High School and the Unit C Chapter Co-Coordinator for the Northampton Association of School Employees. I am here to support the Greenfield Instructional Assistants. I don't pretend to know how you're going to finance these contracts or from which accounts. It's not my job. But here's what I do know. IAs work with the neediest and most vulnerable students in your schools. They work with students on the spectrum, students who are differently abled, students suffering from trauma, anxiety, depression, social, emotional, and learning issues. They model appropriate behavior, support curriculum and communication, provide social and emotional support, support physical needs, encourage peer and social interactions, encourage self-advocacy, document, data collect, and provide choices for students. Their jobs can be exhausting, at times heartbreaking, satisfying, and almost always difficult. They wear multiple hats, and their students depend on them probably more than anyone else in the school building. They rejoice in their accomplishments, and they pick them up when they are down. They are special people who are often overworked and underpaid. Some work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. They often have to put themselves in harm's way to protect children, and they certainly need to have a thick skin. I don't need to work in Greenfield to know their job is hard. It is. I don't need to work in Greenfield to understand their frustration regarding a living wage and affordable health insurance. I live it. I don't need to work in Greenfield to support their need for a fair contract because I too am an educational support professional who has experienced all of this and more, which is why I felt compelled to come here and support your IAs. This week is American Education Week, and tomorrow is National Education Support Professionals Day. I cannot think of a better way to show your appreciation to your instructional assistants than to approve the funding for their new contract tomorrow. Thank you.
Julie Latendra.
Good evening. My name is Julie Latondra. I'm a resident of Sunderland, but I have been educating our youngest Greenfield students for over 20 years. And you've all heard from the IAs, and I just want to be here as a Unit A member. We are also in negotiations, and I want to be here to say Unit A is definitely behind supporting Unit C's funding of their contract. They are invaluable members of our team, and we could not do our job without them. So as the councilman said, these most vulnerable students will have to go out of district if they don't receive the services that they are required to receive by law, and that will cost the city much, much more. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. So now folks can just come up and speak. Same format, 3 minutes. You can just come right up to the mic. It's just I don't have your name signed up, and that's okay. If you could make sure you state your name and your address, that'd be good.
My name is Garrett O'Brien. I live at 72 High Street in Greenfield. I'm an instructional assistant at the high school, and I also sat on the Unit C negotiations committee. It should already be apparent why it's crucial to fund the new Unit C contract. We've heard plenty of voices over the past few months making that point perfectly clear. But the lingering question is, how did it come to this? Why wasn't the Unit C contract ratified way back when negotiations ended? Well, the reason given by the mayor is that the pool of money that has historically been used to fund raises in new town employee contracts, called the Contractual Stabilization Fund, was not replenished this summer due to a lack of quorum at a July 15th City Council meeting. Subsequently, that stabilization fund was depleted over the course of the next few months, leaving nothing in the budget for Unit C. Thus, the anticipated raise outlined in our negotiated agreement no longer had a clear source of funding. The money had vanished. But how was the Contractual Stabilization Fund allowed to be so neglected given its frequent use? Since the opening of Unit C's negotiations with the town at the beginning of 2019, the contracts for school cafeteria workers, police officers, administrative assistants, and DPW and central maintenance workers were all funded by the City Council, repeatedly using the same stabilization funds which Unit C's contract would have relied on. To be clear, the problem is not the fact that these town employees were given raises. Rather, the problem is that the appropriation of the stabilization funds for those contracts was done seemingly, bafflingly, without any thought to the concurrent Unit C contract negotiation. And why was there so little in the contractual stabilization fund to begin with? Well, the one mechanism to refill the fund is to inject it with free cash at the end of the fiscal year. This year, that didn't happen, purportedly due to a lack of quorum at a July 15th City Council meeting. Yet, somewhat confusingly, on June 27th, the City Council did vote on a number of uses for that free cash, appropriating nearly $1 million into various other accounts in the course of a single meeting. So why was the contractual stabilization fund allowed to go unfilled? Whatever the answers to those questions may be, the fact that we need to ask them reveals some major issues in the budgeting process. Our colleagues in Unit A are currently in negotiations with the town of Greenfield over a new contract. How can they trust a process in which ostensibly good faith bargaining can result in such a needlessly prolonged and painful struggle over funding? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Joseph Regari, 643 Burneston Road, Greenfield. I'd like to address a few things. The first is the Board of Assessors suggesting that we stick to a single tax rate. We've done that for many years, basically because our commercial properties are about 26% of our total, and I think we really need to think about increasing our industrial and commercial base. So, brilliant idea, right? Fire station, I think we do need to vote to take that money off and vote on that at the next meeting. I think this is our Greenfield's way of moving forward. We've got a lot of great things happening here, and this is part of the plan. So the DPW allocations, that seems like a no-brainer to me. All those boring things are really nothing to me when I think about the instructional assistants. I didn't even know that was a term until tonight. I know those folks as Mr. Zach and Miss Catherine and Miss Voss and Miss Stacy, and there's just a lot of amazing people that take care of our kids. And, you know, that's really important to take care of them. So I think we need to find the funds and allocate it for their contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Maria Burge, Garfield Street. I wasn't going to speak, but I don't know if I'll be here the next meeting in December, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the outgoing counselors for your time and dedication to this. It is a very hard job. Having been a counselor, I can appreciate the hate mail we get and few thanks and the long meetings. I'm glad that this was split in two, although it's going to be hard to get to 2 meetings. But I do want to let everyone know how much I understand and appreciate the position that you're in. And I'm also wishing best wishes to all the new folks and the new mayor. You have your work cut out for you. I did learn a lot during this election, and one of the things is that if you organize and motivate folks to get involved in town government, you will have a better chance to get new people on board on the council that already come educated and prepared. So thank you again, and maybe you will see me in the December one or not, but I wanted to take the opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close then the public hearing at 7:22. And Just a reminder, so the council meeting will be tomorrow at regular time, regular place, 7 p.m. at the John Zahn Center, but we won't be taking public comments. So I'm giving you one more opportunity. No? Okay, well, you can always email us. So is there a motion to adjourn? And all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We are adjourned at 7:25.